says recording. There we go. We're
Yeah.
recording. Yeah, no, you look good. You do look good. You look healthy.
Well, let's keep it that way.
Yeah, trust me, I dig it too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Pops, why don't we jump right in?
Okay.
We've had lots of people asking us about used cars,
Yes.
making offers for used cars. How do you actually handle that? What's fair? So on and so forth.
Yes. So I think before you get to how should you make an offer on a used car and what should you base it on, I think you have to understand that realistically there's two basic business models that dealerships employ when it comes to selling used cars. There's
Okay.
there's the traditional model, which is mark the car up a lot and discount it a lot. For instance, whatever you own it for, and then you might add $4,000 to it, and you'll expect that in order to sell it, unless like you just land a fish who goes, oh really, that's all, I'll take it. Unless you land that fish, you're going to end up discounting the vehicle maybe about $1,000. So let's say for round numbers sake that type of dealership would end up discounting the vehicle $1,000 and end up making $3,000 on the used car, not including any money that they might make from the finance department.
Yeah.
And a dealership like that might sell, let's say, 20 used cars a month, which would produce $60,000 in used car profit before any finance profit. And then the other business model is what I would call market-based strategy. I couldn't say strategy, damn it. A market-based strategy or data-driven. And what that is that's based on what the market values are, which is the average selling price. That's market price, the average selling price. And there are software providers out there, and the biggest one is vAuto, and they suggest what they call their velocity selling system, which is to price your vehicles below market. So if market is 100% of the value, their suggestion is that you advertise the pricing at 95 to 98% of that, which means compared to that traditional dealer, the markup in your cars might only be $2,000. So you have a smaller markup, and in most cases, either a small, and by small it might be $100 or $200, or no discounts available because it's market-based pricing.
Yep.
Now, a dealership like that, because it's going to show up higher in searches on the internet, will probably sell 40 used cars a month.
Sure.
Now that equates to $80,000 in gross profit on the 40 cars compared to the 60,000 on the 20. But it also gives the finance department 20 extra opportunities to make money, and it creates 20 additional possible customers for their parts and service departments. So the theory being that you'll actually be willing to make less per car to sell more cars and ultimately generate more profit because you've increased your volume. Now, how does that translate into how a customer can make an offer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's the really fair question. Well, what you have to do is you have to do a little research. And by research, I mean, if you see a vehicle and it's priced at say $29,900, and you search similar vehicles to it, and you have to remember that no two used cars are exactly alike.
Yep.
They're not. But you search for vehicles that are similar to it. And if you see that the majority of those vehicles are really at $27,900, then you would know that if the dealer that's asking $29,900 has the vehicle that you think you're most interested in, they're probably part of the traditional business model where they mark it up much more than the other dealers, and so that they can discount it more. They're playing old school car sales.
Yep.
If it turns out that the one you like is at one of the dealers that has it priced at $27.9, well, that's probably a data-driven or market-based pricing store, which means that you're not going to be able to get as large a discount, if any at all, because
Yep.
a lot, as you've probably found out, a lot of the used car pricing is the price is the price. They just haven't left themselves any room. They're trying to get the most click-throughs and create the most interest for the vehicle. So they've priced it at the lowest point that they can, unless they don't sell it in a timely fashion and it becomes an aged unit. And then at a certain point, they might reduce the price again. So if you find it at a dealer that it seems to be at the lower price end, the offer you make is probably, if you go in and you're looking for $1,000 off, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
What might happen is the theory that we used with customers, the wording that we used, because we were a market-based pricing used car store.
You're talking now when you were
when I was at our mini store, it was market-based pricing, is where we would check what was going on in the market all the time, and the wording that I used is, we understand that market-based pricing or one price selling isn't for everybody. We get that. Some folks like to negotiate, but the truth is that we've only left ourselves $100, maybe $200 max in wiggle room. If that'll help you decide to buy our car, great. We'll see if we can make that happen for you. If it doesn't, we understand, and you'll just have to move on to the next. But most stores, or a lot of the stores that do the market-based pricing, the price is the price. I've encountered it any number of times with used cars that I'm looking for our customers, where they won't give us any additional money off because it's just not there. And like, I get it. I respect that they're going for volume and making it up in volume, as opposed to somebody that's going for less but trying to make more per car.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of one of the questions I have, which is, when you were at the mini dealership and you were doing the market-based pricing and vAuto kind of dictated, I mean, I think you even told me vAuto syncs in with the website. It'll dynamically update, prices, or it can. How much margin are built into some of those prices? And this question is rooted in a deal I helped bring to fruition yesterday for I know one of our viewers who ended up working with us at Your Auto Advocate. We bought a GLC, a Mercedes GLC, yesterday, and this dealership out in California had bought 3 of them from auction, previous rentals, but very low mileage. And within 48 hours, all 3 were gone. And if our client had jumped on the last one that they had, because we tried to get the other 2, but they had already been sold, they already had told me, the salesperson at the dealership, we've got appointments set up tomorrow. If your client wants to come in and paper the deal, we can make it happen. And we didn't get any extra money off, but it was a great deal. And the client found value because, we did it for him. But I guess my question is, how much did they make? That was $26,950.
Maybe they made $1,500. Maybe they made $2,000.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. I mean, our viewers might hear that and think, "Oh my God, that's a lot of money to make." Well, on say a $25,000 investment, to get a $1,500 return, that's not really a lot. It becomes a lot if you're turning the product often. Okay, if you're turning it in 3 days and then you get a replacement vehicle and you turn that one in 5 days, then it can add up. And that's the whole concept behind market-based pricing and what vAuto calls velocity selling. You're not looking to make a big profit on every vehicle. You're just looking to move vehicles and move more of them in a more timely fashion, so that your carrying costs are reduced.
And this goes back to something we've talked about in many other videos, and I think will resonate here as well, which is, if a vehicle has been sitting on a dealership's lot, new or used, but let's focus on used. If a used car has been sitting on a dealership's lot for a long time, they're incentivized to sell it. I have an example. Remember, we did the deal breakdown, the deal teardown for the 3 trucks. Remember that? Yeah. Well, that client also, he purchased his truck. What happened there was really interesting. One of the dealerships, and we talked about it in the video, they just kept discounting their price because no one was buying it.
Yes.
And I was on the phone with the general manager, and I asked him, I was like, "What are you doing? We here's our offer. Here's where we want to be. What are you
Yeah.
doing?" He said, "I can't take that offer because I'm actually going to sell it to our other Toyota dealership within the group. Here's
Hmm.
my lowest price that I can go retail. Wholesale, yeah, I'm selling it to another dealership." And ultimately, we took that because it was the lowest, that
Yeah.
we thought we could get, and it felt like a fair deal. But it was really interesting to see one price became another lower price, became another lower price, ultimately to just sell it to another dealership.
Well, that's what happens. Every dealership has what they call a turn system or an aging system. Used cars are depreciating. It's a depreciating asset like anything else. Okay, and the longer you hold it, the less value it has. So most dealerships operate on what they call a 60-day or a 90-day aged vehicle process. What that means is if they have a car and they've priced it on day one at whatever the price is, they're hoping to sell that car within 30 days. If they haven't generated any interest within 15 days, they'll lower the price to try and generate some interest. If they haven't sold it within 30 days, they'll lower the price again in order to try and create interest in the vehicle. And they'll do that again at 45 days. And if at the end of 60 days, they haven't been able to find a retail customer by reducing the price, then they will either sell that car to another dealership, wholesale it to another dealership at whatever they've agreed upon, or they'll take it to the auction and they'll sell it for whatever the high bidder pays for the car, and they will take whatever loss they take so that they can then take that cash and turn it around and buy something that they think they can sell within the 30-day time frame.
Yep.
And because it doesn't pay to just sit on the inventory. So dealerships either have a 60-day policy or a 90-day policy. Now I've worked at some dealerships where they have a fine wine policy, which is they think their cars are like fine wine, and they age like fine wine, so they get more expensive as they get older. And that's not really the way it's supposed to work. So you can watch the pricing on vehicles. You can see if they've marked it down, and if they've marked it down, it's because there hasn't been enough interest in the vehicle. I know some of our customers have asked, well, why wouldn't they just lower the price to get a customer to buy it? Well,
Yeah.
they try, but at the end of the 60 days, that's it. The policy is it's got to go to this. It's got to go somewhere. It's got to be wholesale to another dealer, or it's got to go to the auction.
And I think what's really interesting there is the word policy, because I do know which dealership you're talking about where cars would have birthdays, where
Oh
they would sit on the
yeah.
lot for over 365 days. And that was because that was the policy, versus when you were at, I think it was Penske, when you're working for the Penske organization, it was strict. And it wasn't like you came up with that in your office. It was someone, some bigwig in corporate that said, get it out within 60 days.
We had a strict 60-day aging policy at Penske, and you could ask for one or two exceptions to get an extra 30 days. And if you were granted one or two exceptions and they weren't gone at 90 days, they were gone at 90 days because they were going to the sale either way.
Yeah. And so I guess from a consumer standpoint, try and identify if you're dealing with the old guard or the new guard, the data
Mhm.
driven or the non-data driven.
Yes.
If you're dealing with non-data driven, then, negotiate, play the game, and because there's a lot of markup built into some of those used
Yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah.
If it's a data driven dealership, leverage those websites out there, the Car Gurus and the Auto Traders, set up alerts, because ultimately what the dealer's hoping will happen is, as they're discounting every 15 days, people are going to call and show interest. And if you're really in love with a vehicle, be that person that's showing interest. I will also mention one other tactic I've used with some of these one price selling dealerships that's been hit or miss, which
Hmm.
is to entirely bypass the salesperson and the sales manager and get in touch with the general manager.
Hmm.
And what I've done is, I talk to the salesperson, fill out the internet lead, get on the phone with the salesperson, explain I don't really want to talk to them, get to the sales manager, explain to the sales manager that I could have this deal done today, you know,
Hmm.
but I need $500 off, or I need $1,000 off. And they say, well, we're a one price selling store, but actually that's interesting. Let me patch you through to the GM. And
Yeah.
the GM ultimately could approve that deal. And that's worked once for me, and it's worked not a lot of times as well.
Because in a true one price store, okay, in an absolutely true one price store, the price is the price. If you go to CarMax, there's no negotiating. The price is the price. If you go to Carvana, the price is the price. And so in a true one price store, they will let a customer walk for $100, for $50. The price is the price. Everybody's going to pay the same. Whether you're a good negotiator or a bad negotiator, it doesn't matter, because if you're buying it, you're paying the same profit as the next person, which should make the bad negotiator feel good and probably upsets the good negotiator because they always think they should be able to do better.
Yeah.
I'll share one quick story with you, because you know I'm full of stories. I never forget working with a salesman on a customer for a particular car, and we got to a price that the customer said he'd buy the car, and then he was leaving. So I stopped him. I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, I want to pay less now." I said, "Well, you like the car?" He said, "Yes." And you thought the price was fair? He said, "Yes." He said, "But I want to pay $1,000 less than that." And I looked at him and I just said, "Can I ask you one quick question?" He says, "What's that?" I said, "What makes you so damn special? You should pay so much less than everybody else." And he thought about it for a second and he said, "I don't know. I'll take the car." You know, why do some people think they're so damn special that they should just pay so much less than everybody else, even at a one price store?
Yeah, no, I hear you, but you also have to balance that out, Dad, with the fact that if a store is one price now, it
Yeah.
means we transitioned from being the old school.
Yes.
And even from stories you've told me about dealerships that you've been at that are one price, they've
Yes.
struggled to adopt that. So if I'm a consumer and I
Mhm.
think, sure, I hear one price and I hear no negotiation and I hear market value, I also hear BS because I've seen, or maybe I've worked with that dealership 2 years ago or 4 years ago, and it wasn't like that. And so I think it's that that kind of like sentiment surrounding dealerships is
Mhm.
something that's going to take a long time to rub off.
I get it. It took 100 years to create the 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 business practices that forced people to dislike going into a dealership.
Yeah,
It'll take more than 15 or 20 years for one price dealerships to convince people that that's the right way to do business. I'm still, in my mind, convinced that people just want to know that they're not being taken advantage of.
no, I
And
agree.
if you can provide them with the information that allows them to come to that conclusion, then they'll move forward and do business with you. If
And
you can't, then they won't.
yeah, and so in our context, talking about used cars, talking
Yeah.
about, we've done videos about the timing of when to buy used cars, and there'll be more data that comes out from Manheim and so forth, and we'll talk about it. But in terms of the strategy of actually walking into that negotiation, understand the two different types of dealerships, and then your tactics are different for either one.
Yeah.
Don't pull your hair out unless you really want to try and use the tactic I suggested of talking all the way through to the GM, which is worth a shot. If you've got the time, go for it.
Yeah.
But set up alerts or negotiate with the old school dealer. And if
Yeah.
you're going to negotiate with the old school dealer, recognize that there's a lot of margin built into that car.
Yes. And they don't expect to get all that margin, but they'd be awfully happy if they did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
So does that mean we're ready for our outro?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with an outro.
Okay, folks, I think we're done for the day. But I'm pretty sure if you check back tomorrow, we'll do it again.
And leave some comments. Let us know what you want to hear more of. If it's even getting in the weeds more of V Auto and market pricing and talking about the auctions, let us know. Ray and I, we read through literally every single comment that goes through there, and you can probably tell which ones he replies to and which ones I reply to.
One would hope. I did like the comment that, well, Team Chef's gear should be available for all. So
Yeah. Maybe
yeah,
someday we'll figure that out.
yes,
All
perhaps.
right. Well, thanks, Todd.
We're trying to grow the team, son.
Dude, I'm not having kids anytime soon. See you, Dad.
See you later. Man, we're